and welcome to the Heart of the Matter radio show, hosted by Lorena Jefferson. Author of the book, The Heart of the Matter, Lorena is a lifestyle management coach who is determined to empower the community with the information and resources necessary to build our families and communities. We are global, so listen in every Tuesday at 7 p.m. at talkwatchstudios.com for the Heart of the Matter sessions. We are interactive, and your insights matter, so call us at 813-639-8255 to participate in our discussion. And now, let's get to the heart of the matter.
Hello, and welcome to the Heart of the Matter. I'm Lorena Jefferson, your show host, and here's Victor Hawkins.
Hello, good evening,
He's the
everyone.
co-host.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening. Thank you for joining us tonight.
Thank you for joining us. We thank you guys so much for following us. We know that there are so many of you who have been consistent with being our followers, and we really appreciate your support.
Yes, we do.
We do.
Yeah.
We have fun here, and we really want you guys to know that although we're having fun, and it's supposed to be fun,
Yes.
this is something we're very serious about. We want you guys to be empowered, and we want everybody to know that you're special and you're perfect just the way you are. A lot of people have not heard that, and it's very important for us to know that. It's very important for us to practice acceptance of ourselves, because really, until we do, we're not going to be able to get to the next level in our destiny. Not that it's not waiting for you or won't be there when you're ready, but the fact of the matter is no one can get where they're going unless they know where they are.
That's so correct.
That's
so correct.
And so we want to thank you guys. We want to thank you for tuning in, and we want to thank you for telling your friends on Facebook about us and helping us to gain footing as far as fans. Make sure you push the like button on there, because that's how we're getting our ratings. We so appreciate everything that you guys are doing, so keep spreading the word. We're going to be doing some amazing things very soon, and we will be sharing them with you. So anyway, we have an amazing topic today.
Change your mind.
Change your life. I know you guys aren't too surprised. We always come in with the enhancement, and we want to always empower you. And so, we giggle and we play, because really life is fun.
Yes,
it's a lot of fun.
Especially today, April Fool's Day, huh?
Oh, it's April Fool's Day. It's April Fool's Day. Except we're not fooling you. We want you to take this seriously. We want you to really, really think about this, because how are we going to practice acceptance? We're going to deal with our thoughts. We're going to deal with the things that go on in our minds. We're going to start learning how to recognize the things that are negative. We're going to learn how to notice things that are triggering these negative thoughts.
Warning signs.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And so, again, I tell you guys, we never practice.
Never.
So I love it when I put Victor on the spot.
Just put me on the spot. Throw me to the sharks.
Yes.
Yeah.
So let me tell you how I did it today. I text Victor today. The topic is change your mind, change your life. And I love it because when he comes, he's coming in the natural. And one thing about the heart of the matter is that's what it's about. It's about real people needing to get to the heart of the matter. It's about real people trying to help you as they're being helped by the day.
That's right.
To get to the heart of the matter. Sometimes it does take a village to raise a child, and we're all children at heart. And a lot of things were stolen from us in our very young years, and because of that, we all are children at heart. But imagine working together and helping each other get our minds right. Do you know how powerful?
That'd be extremely powerful.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, right. So I want to know, you know my question. What did you think about when you got that text?
Oh, I thought about so many things, Lorena. But the number one thing that I thought of it was being positive, having a positive mindset, even in the midst of challenging times, and when you're having trouble, when you're being hindered, trying to get to where you need to get to, you have to find a place to where you're positive 24/7, 7 days a week. You just have to stay positive, and it begins to change the way you live. It begins to change the way your attitude, everything about you. You smile in the midst of difficult times.
Absolutely.
Because it's not going to last forever.
Absolutely.
When you have that mindset of, okay, I just take it one day at a time, and just keep pushing on. You just keep forging. That's what I thought of. There's a number of things, but that was the main thing was psychologically, you have to be positive.
Absolutely. And that's very important because you remember we talked about identity theft. And one of the ways that our identity has been stolen from us, we talk about our programming, our mind is where our will, emotions are.
That's right.
And our mind is like our hard drive. And we've talked about this. And like the hard drive of a computer, the only thing that a hard drive can output is what was input into it.
That's true.
And so when we have so many experiences, no matter what they are, no matter who we are, those things are molding our belief system by the second. And a lot of times we adopt things as truths that never were really truths. And that's how we get in the zone where we have a lot of negative thinking, and we struggle with those things.
We all do.
Right?
We all do. Yep.
Yeah. I was thinking when I was premeditating what should we discuss and how should we discuss this, and I was thinking, I remember, going through so much, and I've explained, so much of my background, but I remember being a little girl and already adopting that programming that, I must have no value for people to treat me the way they do, or I must have done something wrong for people to offend me the way they do. I must be dirty for people to not care how they handle me, or, and as a little girl thinking that, by the time I became a teenager, I had an attitude that was out of this world, and I tried to portray like I was so strong and like I was so confident. But what it really was I was so insecure that I tried to come across so strong, and I didn't want anybody thinking that I was vulnerable because of fears from previous.
You didn't want them to pull back the layers to get to the core.
Absolutely.
Because they would see the true you.
Absolutely.
They would see your vulnerability.
Absolutely.
Because you had put on this facade, or you put on this face. What I was thinking when you were talking about being a young child and having this negative thinking, over the years, I think that it was so reinforced that you just had this negative attitude that you had no way of thinking positive. Even if something positive probably entered into your mind, it wasn't very long before something negative overtook it.
Absolutely. And that's how we get in these spaces. And everybody's not in that space. But at the same time, it's really not even about so much what has happened to us. It's the truths that we adopted along the way. I decided that what people had to say was valid, and anything I could possibly try to say to myself had no value. And because of that, I made a lot of mistakes, and I did a lot of things underhandedly, and I lied, and I cheated, and I manipulated, and I stole because I didn't feel like I had value anyway. So because I didn't feel like I had value, then I didn't value the risk that I was taking. by doing the things that I have done. And one of the points of this was, identifying your negative talk and your beliefs. And, that's a big deal because we really can't get past any of this stuff until we identify that we're actually doing it.
So you admit it. It's kind of like, AA or
absolutely
NA. Until you admit there's a problem, there won't be a solution.
Absolutely.
So until you can identify your negative thinking, you're not going to be able to move past that.
Absolutely.
Because if you don't identify it, then you don't feel like you have an issue.
And let me tell you, I knew I had an issue, but I wouldn't admit it to save my life.
You have to be able to identify your negative
absolutely
thoughts, thinking, words, talk, whatever it is. You have to be able to identify it.
Absolutely.
So you can then start the process of positive thinking and how you can deal with that. Because just like you reinforce that over years, the negativity, you can begin to reinforce positivity
absolutely
over the years to where you have that very positive thinking, the same way you had the negative thinking.
It's true. It's true. And what it reminds me of is how we've been talking about acceptance, guys, because that's what really it's going to take for you to be able to admit where you are, because if you continue to disvalue yourself, I think that's a word, I'm not sure.
Disvalue.
If you continue to devalue, I think that sounds better. I don't know which one is appropriate.
That's definitely used. I learned on Wall Street. That's definitely.
He learned on Wall Street, so we're going to use devalue. If you continue to devalue yourself, you will never see the value of change.
Yes.
Like it's so deep because until I realized or had some hope for a future, because I had no hope for a future, I didn't even look forward. I don't know what I thought I was going to do. So I just didn't think about it at all. And that's really amazing that can actually happen. Like I didn't know what I was going to turn out to be. So I didn't do a whole lot to be anything.
Right.
I just somehow existed.
Right.
And
wow.
It's real deep because during the time that was going on, I couldn't see past the second. I couldn't see past how I was going to survive the next second, the next day, how I was going to protect myself the next second, the next day. And it's a life that is hell on earth is what it is. Because I remember, when I got to be older, I used to tell people literally, and people would laugh at me because they didn't realize I was serious. I really thought that I was created. I had to be created to show people what hell on earth was.
Wow.
And I used to tell people, all you got to do is stay near me. And if you ever wondered what hell on earth is, all you got to do is stay in my vicinity and you'll see it all. And they would laugh, oh, you are so crazy. They have no idea that's the way I really thought. Yeah. I really thought that I was never going to have happiness, that I would never be different than I was. I never saw a future. I never saw myself happy. I got to the point, I don't even remember ever hoping I would be happy. I just didn't know how it was going to turn out.
But at some point you identified that negativity. You identified those thoughts, those behaviors, that talk. Because that's just, to come to that point in your life where you say, I'm never going to be happy. I'm never going to be this. I'm never going to be that. But yet, you still get up every day. You still just go through the motions and so forth. At some point, you had to identify that and say, not anymore.
I don't know if I said not anymore. I just kind of happened into it.
Did you?
I did. I literally just kind of happened into it. And the great thing, I love this point because this part of it is so absolutely promising that it's a blessing because if we're human beings having spiritual experiences, that could never happen without us manipulating it.
Right.
Absolutely. But if we are, remember you and I, we continue to say, guys, we are spiritual beings having human experiences, right? And so I want you to pay attention to this because it's very important. I would love to say that I woke up and I didn't. I happened into it. And see, the way it happened, it had to be destiny because I did not manipulate it at all. I did not anticipate it. I didn't do anything. But what happened was God had placed all these different things to happen in my life. Like in high school, I wasn't the best student. As a matter of fact, I was a C student, period. And I told you when I went to college, I scored a 5th grade level. They put me back in high school and college just so I didn't have to take the placement test. They put me back in remedial classes so I could go to college. Right. And if I passed those, right? So imagine this. I never put one college application in. Never.
Okay.
What happened was, I was in so much trouble in school, right? There was a guidance counselor who was in our school.
Trying to guide
she
you.
was constantly trying to get me together.
Trying to guide you.
The whole time, she was putting in applications to these schools for me, and I did not know it.
She believed in you.
She believed in me when I didn't believe in myself.
Wow.
But see, you got to know how serious that is, because although we think that we've defeated everything and we think we don't have any hope and we think that there's nothing going to come out of us, that shows that it is, because there's things working behind the scenes. Mm-hmm. Spiritual things are working behind the scenes, because she put in those applications, and the only way I knew was I started getting these offers for colleges in the mail. Still never thought I could go to college. Even when I saw them, I never thought I could go to college. When I said, well, I don't know what I'm going to do. So maybe one of my friends said, I'm going to this university. I said, I got an offer from there. He said, well, why don't you come to the university with me? And I said, So then I went and I said, I think maybe I'll go to college. I don't know what else to do. And the person said to me, what would make you think that you could do that? The only reason I went was because that person said to me, what would make you think that you could actually do that?
So you wanted to prove them wrong.
I only did it to prove them wrong. And so as we're doing things, guys, and the reason I'm sharing that is because as we think that we're doing stuff and we think that we're in all this control, there are things that you've been created for. You were sent to this earth with an assignment already. You were created with an assignment, a seed inside of you.
Okay.
That seed has to be planted. Once that seed is planted, certain experiences, certain growth, certain situations is the fertilizer and the water for that seed. Okay. And so what was my fertilizer and my water? My fertilizer was a woman who was sent, who had a heart for me.
Okay.
Who saw something in me that I didn't see in myself.
Yes, she did.
So then she fertilized it. And then here comes a friend that says, I got this from college. Why don't you come with me? He watered it.
Okay.
And then I went and said, well, maybe I should do this. I watered it. The person said, what makes you think you could ever do that? They watered it.
Right.
And so although in my heart, I was thinking I was doing it to prove something, behind the scenes, I was evolving, not even knowing I was evolving. But it's like you said, what ended up happening was what that did, those events placed me in a different environment where I saw people being progressive.
Being positive.
I saw people wanting to be professionals.
Yes.
I saw, and because of where I come from, you would understand. Where I come from is, people are progressive, but they're not progressive. And I didn't see a lot of African Americans at all being progressive. And so I went there and I ended up at a prestigious, a black prestigious university. I had never seen black professors. I was in awe of them.
So you was surrounded by...
I ended up being placed, not trying to get there.
It just happened.
It just happened. I ended up being placed, but because of the environment, I started dreaming.
Yes.
And I started seeing things. Yes. And I started believing.
You said you better get with the program.
That's it, right?
So in order to get with the program, you had to change your mind. You had to change your thinking and all of those things.
I thought to myself,
I can do this.
These people are saying I can do this. Huh. It wasn't a I can do it. Not for me. It took years.
Right.
It was like a, And then as I saw myself pass the test, pass the class, be able to hang with the guys who were doing well in school, I saw myself belonging to social groups of people who wanted something out of life. It made me want things out of life. And so I grew, those things were watering me. And I got to the point where I started to believe that I actually could be something.
So you identified the negativities, and then you found yourself in a conducive environment that allowed you to be positive, right? I think that's just extremely important, because this is one reason why I think it is. Because a person can come from a small town or a rural area. I grew up in a small town where wasn't much opportunity there as far as careers and so on. But there was some, but not a whole lot. But I read very positive books. I looked at positive videos. I saw positivity within my own little circle. You follow me? And so my belief is that any person within any type of environment can put themselves in a positive light, whether it be through reading, whether it be through the positive people that are there in that town that you associate with, whether it's through church, whether it's through the school, whatever it may be. You have to surround yourself with people that encourage you, people that they're trying to do things too. They're trying to stay out of jail. They're trying to stay out of trouble. They're trying to do the right thing. They're trying to move forward and advance. You have to, because it's like a bucket of crabs where if you're about to move out of that bucket, they're grabbing you and pulling you back in. And you don't want to be surrounded by people like that. And God bless you in ways that you probably never imagined by putting you in that environment that calls you to trigger your positivity thinking and to move forward and to be able to spread other positive messages.
Absolutely.
That just changed your life, Lorena.
It changed my life. Yes. Let me tell you how serious that was. I went from the girl in the remedial class to right before I graduated, I was a school queen.
Way.
Now, that's just phenomenal. I was not Miss FSU. I was the one right under Miss FSU. But I was able to go and I was able to speak to people. I mean, it brought so many things out of me that I thought I would never be able to do. I had urges to do them, but I never had nerve to do it. And it just developed me on another level. And I see how it is change your mind, change your life. Because if I would have continued to think the way I was thinking, God only knows if I would even be breathing. Because honestly, I've not breathed before, and God had to bring me back too. And so I've had multiple experiences at different times in my life because of my destiny, but I used to see all the things that I experienced as negatives instead of seeing them as part of my building blocks for the life that I have today. I've experienced so many different things that I'm able to relate to nations of people, different cultures, different, all types of things that I really didn't have a lot of exposure to as a young girl. And so you never would have been able to tell me back then that I would be sitting here.
Right.
And for sure, not that I have written books.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And so that's how powerful this assignment is. But I don't just have the assignment, guys. We all have an assignment.
We all do.
And I understand now, and I want you to understand too, that the experiences that we are having in our life, the things that we've gone through, whether they've been traumatic, whether they've been positive, it's all basic training. I don't know which one of you have heard me, but I'll always talk about being a soldier. I'd say I'm a soldier because I'm a soldier, you know, but you all are soldiers. And the beautiful thing is this: you were in basic training. And in order for a soldier to be ready for their assignment, they have to be trained first. But before they even are trained in their expertise, they have to become strong. And you cannot be strong unless you push your body past what you believe the limits
Past
are.
the limitations.
That's how basic training works. You have to run within a certain time. You got to do whatever push-ups within a certain time. If you do not pass and make that time, you do not graduate, period. No. So if you really, really want it, what you do is you find yourself pushing your body past the expectations you thought that you had for it. You put everything into it, and you somehow find that you have so much more within you to make these things happen because you desire them. Right. And that's what this life is about. After you pass basic training, if you said you wanted to be a sharpshooter, I use this all the time. You know, if you said you wanted to be a sharpshooter, they're not going to send you to engineering school. They're going to send you to sharpshooter school. And you may not be able to hit that bullseye at all. But what they do is they make you spend hours and hours and hours aiming at that target, showing you how to hold the gun, showing you the proper etiquette for everything that you do. And what they notice is after an amount of time of practicing, being consistent, because we've talked about consistent behavior, and it's very important for what you're talking about when you talk about reading and surrounding yourself with positive things and positive people, because it's going to take consistency. You're not just going to run into somebody if you've been practicing 20 years of negative thinking one time and change your whole life. That's very rare. But if you continue to surround yourself, you will end up being molded by your environment. Yes. And that's very important. And so in this sharpshooter school, what they do is they wait until you can hit the target. And then not because you did it the first time, they watch you. And over a long amount of time and consistency of you hitting the target, they decide if you're ready for your assignment. That's what your life has been about. You haven't had stumbling blocks. You've had stepping stones. You have been building the foundation for your destiny the whole time. That's right. And every experience that we have had is a basis and a part of our foundation, a cornerstone for our foundation. And our belief system is what glues it together. And so you have not made mistakes. You have made choices. And those choices had consequences. And it's okay because it all has worked together for your good if you believe it. If you believe it. Your belief and your faith is the glue that will bring your destiny together.
I was about to say, even the things that we think was not good.
Absolutely.
Something, those things we call
training.
Something bad happened to me. That was bad. This was bad. But if you turn that into saying, it made me stronger, or it made me see this, or it made me see that, I'm glad that I went through that, because had I not gone through that, I would not be able to withstand this or that.
Absolutely.
And that's how we have to look at some of those situations where we're talking about changing your mind. You change your mind from looking at the situation that you went through as being a negative situation or a bad situation. And I've gone through something, believe me. And I said, you know what? it wasn't the bad in it. It was what it made me.
Absolutely.
What opened my eyes with this, opened my eyes with that, or it made me stronger to be able to withstand something in the future. Mm-hmm. I'm a positive person. I mean, that's just who I am. I try to stay positive about everything. There are some times that I may, get a little blue, but I try to surround myself with positive people, because even when I'm feeling a little down, they won't let me feel down and say, "Hey, that's not who you are," and that's what we have to do.
Absolutely.
So when I look at a situation that I went through that I thought may not have been a good situation, it actually was. It helped me in some way or another. Mm-hmm. Even situations that you go through, that everyone that we surround ourselves with, they go through that situation. We can all look at it and say, you know what, we can find something positive out of it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's, you said the word changing the view.
You have to change
it's
the
our
view.
view.
Yes.
Because when I saw the things that I had to experience as a negative thing, as some type of punishment, as something that was like a condemnation for me, I was not able to really build a life off of that. That's why I had no hope. Right. And that's why I had no vision for myself. And that's why I wasn't motivated to do anything different, because I was focusing and seeing it as a punishment, as something, why me? Everything was for why me? Why would this happen to me? Why are other children protected and I'm not protected? Yes. Why did I have to go to foster care? Why did I have to have a mom that didn't care about me? Why didn't I know what father? And I could go on and on and on. And when I focused on the why, and we talked about this a few shows ago, when you need to ask why, you're going to be stumped. You have to get to a position where it's like it just is. And stop needing to know why, because some things you won't always know why. As a matter of fact, most things, I'm telling you, I can say most things I still do not know why, but I know what to do with what happened. Right. And, I know for a fact that every experience that I've had has come in handy with helping somebody. Mm-hmm. And, people look at me kind of crazy, but I 100% mean that. Like, I'm grateful for every beat down I took. I'm grateful for every rape, for every hit, for every disownment, for every bit of abandonment that I experienced, because there's so many people who experience these things. And when they experience these things, they just need somebody who understands. And they need somebody who has come out of the darkness into the light, who can come back and grab their hand and bring them to the light. The light is truth, and the light is life. And I'm grateful for all of my experiences. I can say that today, and I mean that 100%, because if I hadn't had one of them, I wouldn't be the woman I am.
Right. Right.
If I hadn't had one of them, I wouldn't have the anointing I have to be able to rub on somebody and change a life, right, to change a mind, to change a thought. Because of my experiences, I'm not a therapist. I have the degrees, but I was made for this, Mm-hmm. I was created for it. And every bit of it was my basic training. And I've chosen to make it my destiny to be able to empower, to go back in the darkness and bring people out, to go back into the lies and bring them to the truth. And I can say I'm grateful for that, because it's a phenomenal assignment to be able to have so much understanding for so many different afflictions and lies that the enemy has put out there to bring people down. Right. They're just lies, because we are what we were in the beginning.
A person have to find the strength. They have to find the power or be blessed with it to change their mind if they've been accustomed to being negative. And for you were able to do that. And you look at every one of those situations that you just talked about as something that changed you into the woman that you are today, and you will continue to evolve and continue to become more of a blessing, especially to me. And a person, some people it's easy for, some people it's not easy for, but the first step is changing your mind and being able to identify those things, right?
Well, no.
No?
Yeah, the first step is that. But I mean, no to it not being easy. It's easy to do. It really is easy to do. It's hard to get there. So I want that to be clear, because I didn't just decide that. It has been 30 years. You understand?
Right.
Like, it has been 30 years. And so when I realized it's not about a power coming over you, it's about making a choice. And it's simply about saying, you know what, I won't live like this anymore. No, I'm going to take the tools that I have for me. Because, see, you have strengths I don't have. You do. You have amazing strengths that I don't have.
Thank you.
And, you know, I know that being around you, I'm going to learn a lot. And I look forward to my experience in your space. You in my space is the same. And everyone in everybody's life experience, what we're doing is, remember, we're transferring energies. We're transferring energies, but that energy is that same as, remember, we talked about you're a positive person. But as soon as you go in the realm where people are always complaining negative, you feel like you're freaking drained when you leave those people. That's because something spiritual is going on all the time. And so you go in there with your positive energy, but it's a massive negativity in there. And so an exchange takes place. And what happens is they suck the energy out of you and they exchange it for negativity. That's why when you're around people who are negative, you end up feeling drained and fatigued. You go in with so much, you ever like go in with so much energy, and then by the time you finish with them, you're like, what is wrong with me?
I will share this with you real quick, this experience. I befriended a gentleman at a park, a basketball court at the park. I befriended him, and we talked about things. And we exchanged numbers. We thought we could get together and play basketball every so often. And what happened was that every time I would meet with this gentleman, he was talking just negative things. He was talking about how racism was keeping him from advancing in the world, and how people had this mass conspiracy out against him, and all these things. And in the beginning, I was like, well, maybe I can feed some positivity in him and help change his mind to where he's not always talking negative. But he was an older gentleman that I think that over so many years that he was just set in his ways. And I came to a point, and this is important. This is important, people. I came to a point where I said, you know what? I have to cut my ties with him.
Absolutely.
I cannot do this. And that's what I did. I haven't called him. I didn't take his calls, anything like that. He don't call me. I just couldn't deal with it anymore.
Absolutely.
Because I knew that each time that I came around him or we were together, that it was draining on me to hear all this negativity. I would say something positive about this or that, and he would say something negative. Yes. And I was like, Lord Jesus, help me.
And you made some great tips. These are great tips, guys, because one of the points I want to focus on first, you said two, and I don't want to forget, because the one is knowing when to let people go.
Yes, you got
and
to.
the other one was, what was the other one? I just forgot. You just said two good points I wanted you to talk about.
I'm sorry. But you know
okay, so let's stick to the
knowing when to let people go. Cut ties.
Knowing when to let people go, because that's a very important key, and that's one of the ways to change your mind, change your life, because you gotta decide that you are important.
Yes.
You gotta decide that your space is important, and that you have a right to have boundaries within your space, and whatever you've decided in your space belongs there. The other does not belong, and that includes negativity. If you're trying to change your mind and be positive, you got to know when and feel confident when to cut people off, because it's 100% okay and appropriate to delete people who do not belong in the realm that you are existing in.
Yes. I mean, if you're trying to go somewhere, or you're trying to advance, or you're trying to change things of the past that you feel that has held you back and have hindered you, Lorraine, listen to me. This is just so important.
Absolutely.
People surround themselves with friends, lots of friends, a few friends. If those people are just negative, they don't have anything really going in their life, or they're okay with where they're at. They don't have any desire to advance any further, and so they're just negative.
Absolutely.
Okay? You're going to have to cut your ties with them. It may be painful. It may not be painful. But what is important to you? Where are you trying to go?
Absolutely.
I have seen so many people, so talented, so gifted, surround themselves with friends that are just not good for them, not healthy for them, and they refuse to cut ties with them, and those friends hold them back with all the negativity, with all the, stalemate, I don't want to do this, I don't want to do that, and they stay right with them. Now, if you cut your ties with them and you surround yourself with people that are trying to go or trying to be encouraging to you, some people outgrow little small towns. You grow up in a small town, and you outgrow that small town, and you got to leave.
Oh, yeah. I would never be able to.
You have to leave.
Never be able to go back, not to live.
Or the neighborhood, or wherever it is. You may live, in the inner city, and you may outgrow that, and you may move to the suburb, whatever. But what is important to you and your family? Absolutely. You just have to, people.
You guys remember that, because we always give you tools. And that is one thing that is so very important, because environment is everything for a change of mind.
Change of mind.
Environment is everything. And I can share with you, you don't have to be strong-minded. Like Victor's strong-minded. I am a person who comes from a very different environment. And so I'm more naturally trusting and floating into what I got to do. Right. I'm more free in not premeditating things, because I've premeditated most of my life, and manipulated and lied, cheated, and stolen. So I decided I'm going to be free, and I'm going to trust Jesus in everything, and I trust him in my truth, and I live for the now, and I let myself develop into whom I want to be. And one thing I'm going to be, if it's the last thing I do, is I'm going to be free. And for me, being free is staying out of my own way. Right. And that's another really, really good point, because honestly, there's a lot of things going on behind the scenes spiritually that is 100% true. God is very faithful, and he has already determined what he has determined, and his word will not return void. No. Period.
It won't.
But you have free will of your experiences here. And you have to be very careful with your choices, because here you're free. Choices have consequences, period. It's a universal law. It's already in place. And so what we're trying to share with you is, if you change your mind and you practice and be consistent in your positive affirmations. Now, affirmations are things that you say constantly to yourself that are positive. I used to get in the mirror and I would say, I am smart. Every morning. I am smart. I am beautiful. I am happy. I am free. I didn't feel those things. Today I feel those things. Right. You know what I mean? And I noticed the more I said it and the more consistently I said it. And what I would do, and I'm going to just straight up tell you, I would make sure I was naked in front of the mirror because it was, remember, with my upbringing and the things that I was offended with, it was very important to always stay covered up. Right. So for me to break myself off from feeling fearful all the time, I did the extreme opposite that made me feel so uncomfortable until I got to the point that I'm very comfortable now with absolutely nothing on. But, you know, I told you guys, you already know what you're dealing with when you're dealing with me, because I'm going to be free and ain't nobody going to put me in bondage. So I do. I'm happy. You know, I live. I live the way I live.
Right.
And for me, that's a big deal coming from where I come from. Because I tried to protect myself all the time. And even when I gained all that weight and was really, really huge, that's a trigger from people. You'll find a lot of people who were abused. They get really, really big if they choose food as their fix. Because if I'm big, then you won't look at me like that.
Right.
And if you don't look at me, maybe you won't hurt me anymore. And so it's so much deeper a lot of times. And that's not for everybody, but it has been proven that it is a reaction sometimes to abuses.
Okay.
And so people hide behind things, whether it's fat, like I did, food, like I do, different things. Food is my fix. I have to be accepting of that. We're going to go back to acceptance. I have to accept the fact that one of the vices that I have is food. And I'm an emotional eater. And so that's why I have to be so careful what I do. Right. But sometimes if I fall, I'm okay with falling. If I decide to do that, I have to question myself, why are you doing that? And sometimes I'm in the middle of something doing it, or middle of eating something doing it, But I accept that. And no longer do I accuse myself. If I do it, I'm just human. I made a choice. That's the consequence. Now let me put it up. So that I don't make it worse.
What I love about that is that you recognize that that is a vice for you.
Absolutely.
One of the things, I went through some things in my life where I had to recognize when I wanted to go on shopping sprees, and I had like a mania. I used to go for 2 or 3 days without sleeping, just on shopping sprees and drinking and just partying and just, I was on an emotional high.
Absolutely.
I wasn't on a drugs high, but I was on an emotional high just going. And I learned that I had a mental illness at that time that needed to be treated. I had no idea that's what it was. And I did as much research as I could with God bless her soul. My mom encouraged me to do some research and learn about, manic depressive, which is now bipolar, what have you. And I learned when to recognize a mania and what I needed to do. And they had, doctors want to put me on medication. No medication needed. And I have not been on any medication. Just recognizing when I'm getting into that mania. And when I recognized it, I was able to do things to prevent it.
And that's beautiful, because that's really what it's about. We don't need to pretend that we're someone else. That's what we want you guys to know. We are wonderfully made. And the reason that we're different is because we were created to be different. Our assignments are different. The things that I've been through, a lot of people would not have been able to handle those things. That's why you haven't experienced them, because you couldn't. Those things were in place. Right. For the protection. Everything has a limit.
Everything.
There's things that I wouldn't be able to handle that other people have had to go through. And so I understand that and I recognize it. And the reason we're always talking about acceptance, and the reason that we share our lives with you guys, is we want you to know we're growing too. We're growing. You know what I mean?
Every day.
Somebody's going to say something to me about talking about being naked.
It won't be me. I promise. I won't say anything.
But the truth of the matter is, I don't care.
Right.
You understand? And it's not in a bad way. I'm just finally free.
For
once in my life, I'm free. It's not something I would expect you to say or somebody. I don't expect you to do anything. I'm free to experience you as you bring me your information, as you share the part of me the part of you that you want to share with me. And so I'm free to share whatever I feel free to share, because the fact of the matter is, no matter what you may not like about me, or you may think is odd, or you may think is way out there about me, I'm finally very comfortable with me. I love me finally in my life. I'm extremely free, and I'm going to stay that way.
I love you too.
Thank you, thank you. I'm extremely free, and I'm going to stay that way. And I won't be put in bondage by anyone's opinions ever again in my life. And it doesn't mean I don't respect your opinions. I'm just not going to consider them for my life because this is my life. Your opinions are based on your life, but where do our opinions come from, guys? And we need to remember that so that we will allow anybody in our life space to be as free and to be who they are so that they don't pretend. And then we'll start having pure relationships when we learn how to accept people for who they are and not need to come in and try to adjust them so you can be more comfortable with who they are. If you're that uncomfortable with who they are, they're not belonging in your life space.
No, they're not.
And that's okay to delete them, not because they're negative, just because they don't fit. And you should always have peace in your space.
I think that's important, that people have to understand that it's okay for you to delete people from you. It's all right because it's your life. Another thing I want to touch on with you, I wanted to talk about changing your mind. You change your mind with as it relates to what people think of you. You used to be concerned about it.
Yes.
And the reason I'm saying that is because I know we have people out there that they say things, do things for other people's benefit.
Absolutely.
Okay, we put on this facade.
I did it all. The chameleon.
Yes. They're worried about what somebody's going to think about them or what somebody's going to say about them. So they say the right things or do the right things for those people's benefit. And they have to change their mind.
That's right.
To do what is important for them, to do what they choose to do. Right. They have free will.
What sets them free.
Okay. And the last thing I wanted to touch that was so important that you said was the positive affirmation that you should say every morning. And the reason that is so important that I want to touch on is that if you look at, say, for example, POW, people that was prisoner of war, you look at people that was in very detrimental situations that overcame those situations. And they will tell you that when you ask them, how did you survive that situation? How did you overcome that? A lot of them will tell you it was their thought, their thinking.
Absolutely.
They were thinking that day after day after day, thinking the same thing. I'm going to be rescued. I'm going to be rescued. And they didn't give up. Even when they were, I remember a book I read about a POW. He sat in a cell by himself year after year after year, but he knew that he just believed that he would be rescued. He changed his thinking, his mind. He could have just gave up, but he didn't. And that's important for us to have a positive affirmation, maybe a few of them or one of them, whatever it may be. Every day we go through those positive affirmations or one positive affirmation. Say it out loud. If you have to say it, 10, 20 times a day.
Absolutely.
It's helping you get to where you need to get.
Absolutely. And I want to read this poem to you guys because we only have a few more minutes. Listen very carefully. I think it's an amazing poem I found in high school.
Okay.
It's called The Bottom Line. Face it. Nobody owes you a living. What you achieve or fail to achieve in your lifetime is directly related to what you do or fail to do. No one chooses his parent or his childhood, but you can choose your own direction. Everyone has problems and obstacles to overcome, but that too is relative to each individual. Nothing is carved in stone. You can change anything in your life if you want to badly enough. Excuses are for losers. Those who take responsibility for their actions are the real winners in life. Winners meet life challenges head on, knowing there are no guarantees, and they give it all they've got. And they never think it's too late or too early to begin. Time plays no favorites, and it will pass whether you act or not. Take control of your life. Dare to dream. Take risk. Compete. If you aren't willing to work for your goals, don't expect others to be. Believe in yourself, and that is the bottom line. That is absolutely phenomenal. Yes. I found that poem and I repeated it to myself all through college.
I like that.
Because it is true. And this was part of my affirmation.
Okay.
So guys, I want you to really understand that this is the truth. There is one bottom line, and the bottom line is you. And the bottom line is you make the choices for today and the rest of your life.
Yep. Absolutely.
We really love you and we really appreciate you. We thank you for joining us at the heart of the matter. We think you're important. And we want you to get to the heart of the matter also.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for joining us. You guys have a great evening.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good night.
The Heart of the Matter is impacting lives globally. You're invited to tune in with Lorena Jefferson every Tuesday at 7 p.m. here at Talkwad Studios for more tools of empowerment and inspiration. For more information, contact Lorena at prestigewellnesscenter2@yahoo.com or by phone at area code 813-273-8700. Until next time, remember, mystics swim in the same water that psychotics drown in. It's simply a choice of how you see the water.